Welcome to the Konglish Talk podcast, a chill talk show brought to you by some States girl and Korean guy living in Korea. My name is Leah.
And I'm Diaz. And today's topic is nothing.
No. It's something.
She came back almost like a month after we took the film, so yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that we did like that, because we had a lot of things, especially last week. So we're gonna talk about that. Okay. Don't forget to follow us and set the alarm. She was struggling with her private school, and I was struggling several things too, but yeah, maybe she could write a book with her story right now, so yeah. Leah, go ahead.
So yeah, I work at an English kindergarten, and in the afternoon I teach like elementary school level class, like elementary school kids. With kindergarten, they have open house, which is like, it's more than an open class. So usually, like, for the public schools, they'll have an open class where the parents can come in and they just sit down and in whatever class, and they just kind of like watch their kid have a class, basically. And for this, it's not like they come in, the parents come in, and they're like, oh, we're gonna watch them have like a couple of English classes and that's it. Like, no, this was like a whole thing. Like, so the parents had to come in and they had to watch a class, and then we did like this long themed activity with them. The kids had to put on this like little show where they sing a song and dance in English, and then and then we made like a craft with the parents, and yeah, so it was like a whole 2.5 hour thing. But to be honest, it wasn't too bad when it was happening. Like, actually, the parents were pretty nice, like, during, and a lot of them actually knew English not like extremely well, but a lot of them like understood like what I was saying. Yeah. So, however, preparing for the open house was just such a pain in the ass, dude. Oh my god, it was such a pain in the ass, and my boss, understandably so, was so stressed out about it. And like last minute changes kept happening. And listen, I know that last minute changes happen. That's like life. That is what it is. But like, I don't know what it is, but a lot of the times when last minute stuff happens, it literally will happen like I'm always the last person to know when last minute changes are happening. And I'm like, okay. I hate being the last person to like know something, especially when it involves me. Because, like, I was leading this class, by the way. Like, I led the entire thing, so, which is fine, but, like, I had to, like, memorize, like, the whole procedure, which is, like I said, it's fine. It's just that it was a lot. And so, whenever I'm the last person to know, I'm like, okay, but, like, I'm leading it, but, like, I'm the last person to know what's happening, okay.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
I know that.
So originally, okay, so, and at my kindergarten, okay, there's two grades, technically. There's the 6-year-olds and the 7-year-olds. And I mean, and we're talking Korean age, not international age. So,
well, if I change it to international age, I mean, the age we know that will be like 4 to 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have the younger kids, and the other foreign teacher, who's American like me, she has, like, the 7-year-olds. So, like, the slightly older kids. And so, originally, whenever they were bringing up the whole open house thing, I was thinking, okay, well, the 6-year-olds are on the 3rd floor, and the 7-year-olds are on the 2nd floor, 1st floor, whatever, 2nd floor. And I thought that the open house was going to be happening simultaneously. I thought that the 7-year-olds and the parents would be downstairs, and the 6-year-olds, respective stairs, whatever, or floors. And they're like, oh, no, like, it's going to be one at a time. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, they were like, first we're going to do the 6-year-olds, then we're going to do the 7-year-olds. They're going to have a whole different thing. I mean, like, we need both floors. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, so does that mean, like, whenever I'm done with the 6-year-old class, I can leave? You know? Because, like, I'm their homeroom teacher. I don't teach the 7-year-olds at all anymore. I used to when I first started working there, but I don't anymore. So I was like, so can I just, like, leave? They're like, oh, no. Like, all of the teachers are going to be there the whole time helping out. So they're like, so we want you to help out with the 7-year-old class. They're like, you don't have to teach or anything. We just, like, want you to be there and, like, help out because they're going to be put into groups during the activity so you can kind of be there. I'm like, okay. So my other coworker is going to come into my class too. And they're like, yeah, like, all the teachers are going to be there, like, helping each other out. And I was like, okay, so that means I have to be there for, like, 5 hours. And at first I was kind of, like, annoyed by it, but then I was like, but you know what? I'm gonna get paid extra, like, overtime.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
I was like, so, I mean, it's 5 hours, but at least I'm getting paid, like, overtime for all of that time. And I was a little bit surprised at the time, because I was like, oh, they're actually gonna pay me, like, that much overtime. I'm a little bit impressed, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, this was the idea the whole time. So then literally 3 days before this happens, my other coworker pulls me aside and she's like, hey, so, the other coworker, we're going to call her Tiffany. They're like, she's not going to be helping out in your class anymore. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, because I don't know, like, our boss just, like, told us that she's not going to help out anymore. And I was like, so is she just going to stand there? Like, while the other teachers are helping out? I was like, isn't that weird? Like, she's the only one not doing anything? And she goes, you know, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that is kind of weird. And I was just like, okay, so does that mean that I'm not coming in for the 7-year-olds? Because, you know, my boss is pretty fair about giving us equal work. So I was just kind of, and she was like, I don't know, maybe. And I was like, all right. So then I asked the 7-year-old homeroom teacher. She's like, I was like, so am I no longer helping out? She's like, yeah. And I was like, so I get to leave? Like I originally thought I was going to. She's like, yeah, I envy you. And I was just like, I knew it. I knew. And I'm not trying to shade my boss either, because I that's not what I'm doing here. I just thought it was really funny because I was like, I knew that, like, because my boss is probably not the one that had the final say, but I did think it was just like, it's probably the head, the person who runs it. But I just thought it was so funny that they were probably, I imagine them looking at like last minute budget stuff and they're like, oh fuck, like we have to pay all of them that whole time. But
yeah, that will be really, really a big financial problem. Yeah.
Right. So they were like, we're just going to cut the 2 foreign teachers' time. So I was just kind of like, I mean, it's fine. And at least it was 3 days before, and they told me like that much in advance. But I just thought it was funny because everyone was so convinced that me and her would have to stay the entire time. And it didn't happen. And I was just like, I don't know. The curious part of me was just like, what went down though? I want to know the tea. Like, how, like, I just want to know, like, how they didn't know, whoever was, like, in charge of everything didn't realize that they would have to pay us that whole time. You know?
That's really weird.
Like, I'm not great at math, but it went well. The lesson went well. The parents had fun. I definitely the whole time was like sweating because like we have like a certain time limit for how long an activity is supposed to happen, but sometimes things happen quicker than what we anticipate. So the lesson, like one of the lessons went by a little bit too fast, and my manager had to like cut in and kind of like add in more time, like fluff the time. And I was just like the whole time I was like, I'm sweating, dude. I can't do this. I'm just like, how much more English can we get out of these kids, you know? But I think, like, luckily I had, like, an okay time. But I will say, here's the thing. And I get it. Okay, so I understand that the parents want to see results from how much they're investing. Like, they want to see, you know, kickbacks from their investment, whatever. I get it. However, it is really difficult because at the same time, these kids are like 5.
Which means, yeah.
Which means, like, some of them have certain learning curves. And also, like, if they don't really care about school, or, like, in general, if they're not practicing at home, they're not really going to do very well, like, speaking in, like, full-on sentences fluently with a foreign teacher, like, after less than a year. Now, I have a few kids that really like English, actually, and their English is pretty good, especially during, like, lessons and stuff. But as for fluent conversations, they can't have a fluent conversation with me. They're fucking 5. You know what I mean?
And, yeah,
So,
and when they go out from the kindergarten, they welcome to Korea starts.
right. And it's just like, I'm not saying that none of them will be fluent, because that's not true, but they do still need more exposure and more practice, consistent practice as they're getting older. And so, and some of them, they're just like really young. They some of them don't even really know Korean that well. So, like,
Jesus Christ.
I know.
That's a problem.
I know, right? Like, one of them literally, like, doesn't, like, knows the English alphabet more than the Korean alphabet, but he still doesn't really know English that well, so.
Well, zero language.
Yeah. But it went okay, and after that, we had, like, this lunch together. My coworker was having an anxiety attack about her open class. I'm like, I don't blame you, it'll be fine. And then I went to the gym and I was like, bye! I don't have to be here. And my other coworkers were like, we envy you. I'm like, well, you know. Yeah, there was a lot of planning, a lot of, like, oh my god, and practicing the song. Our theme was 4 seasons, and their song was like, if you know all the seasons, clap your hands, like that. And I can't get it out of my head. And I came up with the dance for it. Yeah, I did. I choreographed it. I think I should be hired by, like, you know, SM or YG to, like, choreograph their next group, because I think I killed that shit. How was it? Was it entertaining? It was riveting for me to experience.
Like, you know, it was kind of like a sad story for me. Like, if I fail, then I might lose my job, or those clients won't buy our service anymore, and, like, that just passed my head, and that was really awful and sad story. And last minute change, you know what? That is a disaster for an engineer, and, like, when you're doing team project, and the professor say for the last minute and says, well, if he starts with well, that means that's a fucked. So yeah, that's how I felt for that. But luckily, that wasn't a big deal for, like, last minute thing for you. So yeah. Anyway, that was sad for me.
Yeah, I just, like, the whole thing is, like, I wanted it to go really well, because, you know, at some point, whenever I leave the job, I want, like, a glowing letter of recommendation from my boss, you know? So I was like, I want to do well in this open house. It was one of those things where I was like, I want to do so well, they'll be sad when I leave. How are you this week?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah. You know that all Korean man has to go to the military as a mandatory service, so yeah. And do you know what's the present from the government when you get discharged?
What?
They gave you a paper. Oh, not a paper these days. It will be a digital document these days, because, you know, eco-friendly, and, like, they give you for, like, a reserved force mandatory document. So
yeah,
if you get the paper, National Defense will summon you yearly to a military base and let us train again for 8 years. Well, if you are in a reserve force, you have to go to a military base for 3 days and eat there, live there for 3 days, and get trained for that. But if you're luckily, I'm a student, which means that if you're a student, you can just go for one day and for 8 hours and go there and get trained. That's everything for that year. So yeah, I went there for, but like listen, you know what? Even there's a meme. No, it's not a meme. It's just a disaster for a Korean man. But like, when you have to wear a military suit again for weather force training, you know what? Whenever you wear that suit, your rage level will be maxed. Your mental power and your full physical power will be degraded. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, that was for me too. And when I go get there, then what I thought that is, if somebody touches me or somebody is trying to fight with me, then I'm gonna fight him and I'm gonna kick his ass to the moon. Like, that was how I thought that time. And yeah, so, and all the Korean, all the males that there were, every person was same face, like,
Yeah.
you know.
It's like getting subjected to your PTSD time when you had to serve in the military again.
Indeed, yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that really sucks.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you know what? When someone nearby you is wearing a Korean military suit again, without knowing any reason, don't fuck with them.
I think you can write a book too.
Every male could write a book about this. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna back with another topic next week. Hopefully. Well,
Yes.
we will. If I finish my 3 papers till this
Yeah.
week, so yeah.
E.
Okay, this is all for this week, and we're gonna see you on next week. Woo!
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.